Hello and welcome to this video tutorial where I want to explain a bit about the problem with the curved earth in FSX and what you can do in ModelConverterX to work around these problems. So to illustrate the effect that the curved earth can have in your scenery, I made this test scene that you see here in Gmax. We have a ground polygon, this brown greenish road here. I made it with the loft tool. So I made a path and created a road out of it. And then we have the pink box, which is following that road. So it's an animated box going around that track. And the blue object you see here has been made with the loft function again. It's like a wall that's along my road, or maybe you can call it a side curb or something like that. And I want to, with these three objects, I want to illustrate what effect the curved earth can have. Of course, this is not a beautiful piece of scenery, it's just a few colored boxes and polygons, but I think it wouldn't be too hard to imagine this is part of your airport scenery maybe, and the animated box will be a bus driving around your airport. The road can be the road that the bus is following, but nicely textured of course. And the blue can be other static parts of your scenery that you do made in Gmax. Maybe some objects along the road or a building directly next to the road. So here you see in Gmax it's all one good looking part, and it all fits together quite well. The animated box and the blue side curb I've exported as a FSX model and placed into the scenery. The road I've exported as well as a FSX model, but then I used the ground polygon wizard to make sure that it is turned into a proper ground polygon. So if I then go to FSX, this is what I get. And as you probably see already, the side curb is no longer properly aligned with the road. It's actually a little bit beside it, and if I lower to ground level, you also see it's a little bit floating. We're lucky, the animated box is just arriving as well. And you'll see it's still aligned rather well with the side curb, but the box is also floating above the road. So what went wrong here, you might be wondering. What you're seeing here is the effect of the curved earth that FSX is modeling. So the ground polygon, the road here, has been processed with the ground polygon wizard and is following the curve of the earth exactly as it should, but the animated object and the static side curve are not. And this is, you should see it as you have a football maybe and a box full of matches. If you put that box full of matches on the football, it will only touch the surface of the football at the point where you press the two together. But at the corners of your box full of matches, it will not touch the surface of the football. It will float a little bit above the ball. And you're actually seeing the same here with this model and the earth, which is kind of a big ball. So only at the reference point of your MDL object, there the two will be exactly at the same altitude. And the further you get away from the reference point, the more the MDL object will start to float above the surface. And for small objects you won't see it so much because it's maybe only a millimeter or so. But if you have an object of a few kilometers, maybe like a runway or like a path of an animated bus like here, then the difference can become visible and can be half a meter, 2 meters, something in that range normally. So you might be wondering, what can I do to prevent this problem? Well, ModelConverterX has some functionality for that as well. I've loaded my MDL object in ModelConverterX now. As you see here, there's the box and there's the side curb. And if I now go to the FSX Earth Curve editor, you can apply a correction to the object, which will make sure that it's also following the curve of the earth correctly. To do that, you have to type in the latitude and longitude where you want to place your object. That's because the earth is not a perfect sphere, it's an ellipsoid, and the exact location is needed to be able to apply the correct correction for the curve. And then you have two options. Either you can correct the geometry and the animations, or you can correct attach points. In most cases you'll need the first option. The last one is only needed if you have some attach points that are sort of misaligned with your objects. That's because the attach points are treated slightly differently again by the engine, but I won't go into all those details now. In most cases, just using correct geometry and animations will be fine. So you just press correct. You have to wait a little bit. Well, actually it's finished now already. And what the tool did is make sure that all the vertices of your objects are also adjusted for the fact that the Earth is curved. And the same for the animation. All the keyframes of your animation are adjusted for the curve of the Earth. So if I go back to Flight Simulator, and we'll go to the scenery library and we'll reload it, then we can see the effect if everything goes well. We'll have to wait till it reloads. So while it's reloading, do you have to apply this tweak to all objects you make? I would say no to that. If you make like a small building that's maybe 10, 20, 30 meters, then you won't see this problem. It might be floating a little bit at the corners, like a few millimeters, but you will never see that in your scenery. So in that case, it's not really necessary to apply this correction. But if you have objects that are much bigger, like a huge hangar, or like a bus maybe driving a few kilometers over your airport, then you will start to see the difference, and then it's a good idea to apply this tweak. So let's wait till it's finished loading again, and it didn't load correctly. That's the nice effect of a demo. Let me close Flight Simulator just in case. Oh, of course I forgot one important step. After applying the tweak, I need to export my object again. So I make a new BGL file, and if I now reload Flight Simulator, we should get the right effect. So we have to wait again while it reloads. I guess this demonstrates that everybody sometimes forget the most obvious things, like did I compile my BGL file again, or did I reload my scenery? Yeah, these kind of questions come along on the forums now and then, but you see everybody makes that mistake. So let's wait till it's finished loading, and then we should see our road and our side curve and the animated box aligned with each other much better again. And there we are. And well, maybe you can already see it from this distance, but if I now zoom in a little bit, you'll see that the side curve is perfectly aligned with the road. So it's now also bending down sort of to follow the curve of the Earth. And I go to the surface level. You also see that the box is now much better aligned as well. It's no longer floating as much as it was before. So this illustrates how to use the editor to correct for the curve of the Earth. I hope you understand the explanation of why it's necessary and what it does. And if you have any other questions about it, just post them on the forum as usual.